Good morning, dear listeners. You are listening to 91.2 FM Hello Haldwani, the community radio station of Uttarakhand Open University. I am Dr. Megha Pant and we are celebrating the birth anniversary of one of the most remarkable figures in English literature, Thomas Hardy. To explore his life, works and his famous fictional world of Wessex, I am joined by my colleague Miss Bhavna. Welcome, Bhavna.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a pleasure to be a part of this discussion today. Thomas Hardy is one of those writers whose works remain relevant even after more than a century. His novels continue to be read, adapted, and discussed because they address universal human experiences.
Absolutely. Hardy was born on 2nd June 1840 in Dorset, England. Growing up in a rural environment, he developed a deep connection with nature and village life. This connection later found expression in the literary world we know as Wessex.
And that is perhaps what makes Hardy unique. Many writers create memorable characters, but Hardy created an entire region that readers remember long after finishing his novels. Wessex has become almost synonymous with Hardy himself.
Very true. Wessex was based on the countries of southern England, but Hardy transformed them through imagination. It became much more than a geographical setting. In his novels, the landscape influences human emotions, decisions, and destinies.
Readers can see that clearly in The Return of the Native. Eadgan Heath is not just a location, it almost becomes a character. Its vastness and timelessness affect every individual living there.
Exactly. Hardy believed that human beings are deeply connected to their environment. Nature in his novels is powerful and enduring, while human lives often appear fragile and temporary.
That reminds me of one of Hardy's famous quotations, quote unquote, time changes everything except something within us, which is always surprised by change. This line beautifully captures the conflict between continuity and change that appears throughout his writings.
A wonderful quotation, Bhavna. Hardy lived during a period when industrialization was forming England. Traditional village life was disappearing and he witnessed these changes with concern. Through Wessex, he preserved the memory of a rural culture that was slowly fading away.
In that sense, Hardy was not merely a novelist, but also a cultural historian. His works document customs, occupations, festivals, and ways of life that might otherwise have been forgotten.
I completely agree. At the same time, his novels are not simply descriptions of rural life, they engage with larger philosophical questions about fate, free will, and human suffering.
And that is perhaps why many readers describe Hardy as a tragic writer. His protagonists often struggle against forces beyond their control.
Yes, consider Tess in Tess of the Urbervilles or Jude in Jude the Obscure. Both are intelligent and sensitive individuals whose lives are shaped by social prejudice and unfortunate circumstances.
Yet Hardy never presents them as weak characters. Instead, he highlights their dignity and resilience in the face of adversity.
That is an important point. Hardy's sympathy for ordinary people is one of the most admirable aspects of his writing.
And his social criticism remains relevant even today. Through Tess, for example, he questioned Victorian attitudes towards women and challenged rigid moral standards.
Indeed, Hardy often exposed the gap between social expectations and human reality. He encouraged readers to think critically about conventions that limit individual freedom.
That idea is reflected in another famous Hardy quotation. If a quote unquote, if a way to the better there be, it exacts a full look at the worst. I find this quotation particularly inspiring because it suggests that progress begins with honest self-examination.
Very true. Hardy believed that society often improved only if it confronted its flaws. His novels invite readers to engage with difficult truths rather than avoid them.
Ma'am, another fascinating aspect of Hardy's career is that although he became famous as a novelist, he considered himself primarily as a poet.
Yes, and after Jude the Obscure, he devoted much of his attention to poetry. His poems explore memory, loss, love, aging, and morality with extraordinary sensitivity.
And many readers are surprised by the emotional depth of his poetry. It reveals a side of Hardy that is deeply reflective and philosophical.
Absolutely. Whether in poetry or fiction, Hardy remained concerned with the complexities of human existence.
One quotation that I particularly admire is, quote unquote, the beauty or ugliness of a character lay not only in his achievements but in its aims and impulses. It reminds us that true character is measured not merely by success but by intentions and values.
That quotation beautifully summarizes Hardy's humanism. He looked beyond social status and judged individuals according to their humanity and moral courage.
Perhaps that is why readers across cultures continue to connect with his works. The emotions he explores, love, hope, disappointment, ambition, and loss, are universal.
Exactly. Great literature transcends time and place, and Hardy's writings continue to speak to modern readers because they address enduring human concerns.
As we celebrate Thomas Hardy's birth anniversary, we remember not only a novelist and a poet, but also a chronicler of rural life, a critic of social injustice, and a profound thinker.
And through Wessex, he created a literary world that remains alive in the imagination of readers around the globe.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this enriching discussion.
Thank you, Bhavna. Dear listeners, thank you for joining us on this special program in the heart of Wessex, remembering Thomas Hardy on his birth anniversary. Keep reading, keep learning, and stay connected with 91.2 FM. Hello, Haldwani.